Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down the big ideas shaping our world. Today, we are diving deep into how new technologies, and yeah, I'm talking especially about AI, are pretty much forcing us to tear up our old rulebooks and start from scratch.
So let's start with a question that's probably on a lot of people's minds. Is using AI for your homework always cheating? This one question, it's at the very heart of a massive debate in education right now. And honestly, it's the perfect example of how a new piece of tech can just throw all our old rules into complete chaos. This isn't just about what's allowed. It's about what we even value in the first place.
To really get what's going on, we need a roadmap. So think of this as a journey in a few parts. We're going to explore how societies deal with big changes, starting with simple little habits, then plunging into a full-blown crisis of values, and finally, figuring out how we write new rules for a totally new reality. You ready? Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning with the absolute basics. All those unwritten rules that kind of steer us through our daily lives. You can think of it as the invisible software that's running our entire society in the background.
A long time ago, a sociologist named William Graham Sumner, he came up with a great term for these simple, non-moral habits. He called them folkways. These are just the convenient little ways we all get things done. They pop up naturally because, well, we're all just trying to satisfy our basic needs. Queuing up in a line is a perfect example, right? Or shaking hands. There's no law that says you have to do it, but it's just what we do in a lot of places. It's not about being a good or bad person, it's just a folkway, a routine we've all agreed on because it's convenient. Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. What happens when we start to believe that one of these little habits isn't just convenient, but it's actually essential for the good of society? The moment we attach a judgment, this is right, that is wrong, that folkway transforms into something way more powerful. Sumner called this a more. These become our core ethical principles. All right, now let's throw a wrench into the system. Let's introduce a force that creates brand new folkways at an absolutely incredible speed: technology. The great Carl Sagan really nailed it. He said that adapting to change is basically in our DNA. But what feels so different today is the speed. The pace is just accelerating, and it's being driven by technologies like AI that are evolving way faster than our social rules can ever hope to keep up. The futurist Ray Kurzweil, he takes it a step further. He thinks we're right at the beginning of a completely new era, where our technology is literally extending the power of our own brains in ways we've never, ever seen before. And boom, this is how a new folkway is born. It starts out pretty simple, just like the pencil or the calculator did. Using an AI to help you draft an email or maybe outline an essay, it's just a new, really efficient way to get something done. At first, there's no moral weight to it. It's just a tool. But what happens when this new, super convenient tool starts to rub up against our deeply held beliefs? This is where the real conflict kicks off. This is the moment a brand new folkway slams head-on into our old, established mores. Just look at how this image of the tilting scales captures that conflict perfectly. On one side, you've got the heavy weight of tradition, our established more of academic honesty and original thought. And on the other, you've got the sheer power of a new tool, the incredible efficiency of AI. And you can see which way those scales are starting to tip. This friction, this tension, we can call it a more crisis. It's a classic societal growing pain. Suddenly, all our old definitions of right and wrong, of what counts as cheating versus what counts as learning, they're unstable. They're totally up for debate, and there is no easy answer. So why is it so incredibly hard for our big institutions, like schools or major companies, to adapt to this kind of massive change? Well, history actually gives us a perfect and kind of stubborn example of this friction in action. Okay, check out this battleship. It tells this amazing story about an officer named William S. Sims. He tried to introduce a revolutionary new technology called continuous aim firing. It was a proven system that made naval guns ridiculously accurate, even when the ship was rolling on the waves. But the Navy bureaucracy? They fought him tooth and nail. The historian Elton E. Morrison, he documented this whole thing. And what he found was that the Navy's resistance wasn't even logical. It had nothing to do with the tech not working. It was all about protecting their established culture. This new method, it threatened old routines, it threatened the traditional skills they valued, and it challenged the very identity of what it meant to be a good naval officer. And here is the absolute key from Morrison's work. Any large organization, whether it's the military, a university, or a big corporation,
is its own little society with its own culture. And just like any society, they're built for stability, which means they naturally, instinctively, resist fundamental change, just like the Navy did.
So if we know that resistance is just a natural part of the process, how do we ever overcome it and actually move forward? Well, the answer lies in becoming what's called an adaptive society.
Morrison argued that for any of us to survive in an age of such rapid change, we have to become an adaptive society. Now, this isn't about trying to stop innovation. It's about building the cultural muscle to integrate it thoughtfully, without just throwing away our core values in the process.
And this has to be an active process. It means, first, we have to just admit that the old rules are being challenged. Then, we look to history, like that story about the Navy, to understand why we're so resistant. Then you have to actually engage with the new tools, experiment. And finally, we have to consciously and collaboratively build new norms and new ethics for our new reality. And this is how the whole story arc completes itself. That chaotic new folkway that caused the huge crisis of Morris, it finally resolves into a stable, adaptive norm. So for our AI example, this would look like a new ethical charter for using AI in education, one that creates a clear, shared understanding of what honest, effective, AI-assisted learning actually looks like. So if you're going to remember one thing from all this, make it this 3-act drama of change. A new habit emerges. That habit clashes with our values and creates a crisis. And then, eventually, we adapt by creating new rules. And this isn't just about AI. You can use this lens to understand everything from social media's impact on politics to the rise of remote work. It's a really powerful tool for making sense of our wild, rapidly changing world. You see, this framework doesn't just explain the debate over AI and homework. It actually gives us the tools to think critically about what's coming next. AI is the folkway that's causing our Moore's crisis today. So the big question we have to leave with is, what's next? What's the next piece of tech just over the horizon that's going to force us to rewrite our rules all over again?